Okay, it is 2 o'clock in the East Coast, and we are live on Facebook, ready to record this episode of Video Marketing Madness with Ray the Video Guy and Steve Sleeper. Glad to have you on here, Steve. Actually, hold on one second. I'm going to try something here, and this may kill us, but we're going to do it anyway. I'm going to switch over to turn off my Wi-Fi so that it runs off of hardwire here. So I'm still having issues. But you know what? I ran something with hardwire the other day, and I still had issues. It was the same thing. It still told me I wasn't getting a lot of output. But oh well, we've made it through. Didn't kill us the last time, so I'm sure we'll be okay.
Yeah, it looked fine. I mean, nobody could tell except us.
All right. Today we're going to talk about mobile phones for pro video, and there's a number of reasons why we're going to talk about that. Stems from a bunch of conversations we've had lately. So.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well. No reason to delay the inevitable. Let's get this show on the road.
All right.
And here we go. In 5, 4, 3.
Oh, wait a minute. I got to
wow.
show it. Hold on.
What? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, sorry about that.
Hold on.
Hold your horses.
Oh, my horses. Oh, my gosh. My stupid horses.
That's all that needs.
These stupid horses. Oh, my gosh.
I didn't realize
that
golly. We were on yet.
Oh, my golly.
There we go. It's that, and then one more. Hold on. Hold the phone.
Steve didn't know we were on when I said, hey, we're live.
Well, I suppose I should listen to you for once.
No, you definitely shouldn't listen to me. There's no need for that.
Okay. We're good.
Right. I'm sharing it to a few places too now, so it should be fun. Now that they make it much easier to share to groups inside of Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of nice.
I'd know if I had any.
If you had any groups?
No.
Oh, gosh, I've got hundreds. Hundreds, I tell you. It's not just groups that you own, it's groups that you belong to, so...
Oh.
So I can share it to other groups.
Oh.
And get them annoyed. Yeah. Avoid the noid.
Yeah, all Omaha right. History Club probably wouldn't want me to share this to their group.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe not.
History of video. All right. Well, are we ready then?
Okay.
All right, here we go. In 5, 4, 3... On today's episode of Video Marketing Madness, we're going to discuss whether or not you can really use your smartphone to do professional style video. And today's episode is made possible by something much more professional, and that is FreshBooks. That's right. If you've got a business, or if you're a freelancer, or you're self-employed in some way, this is a great way to keep track of all your money. Make sure that you get paid quicker and easier. Make sure you can do those recurring billings all with one simple program. You can send out all of your invoices. You can send out proposals and estimates and get responses back and do all of these things. And best of all, you can do it by trying it for free. That's right. You can jump in right now. Get FreshBooks for free for 30 days. You don't even have to put in a credit card. So you could literally go in there, sign up, test it out, and if you hate it, just walk away and you would never be charged a single penny. However, I would recommend that you do pay them a few pennies and keep it going afterwards because it works very, very well. And, I switched from QuickBooks to FreshBooks, and I have not looked back, and it's actually a little bit cheaper. So, want to get started? Want to do the free one?
Fresh. You're
That's
fresh.
Right. I'm
now.
fresh guaranteed.
Fresh.
And if you want to be fresh, well, head on over to raiselinks.com/freshbooks. Sign up for your free account and use it for 30 days. Again, no credit card required. So with that, let's hit our music.
He's Ray the Video Guy, yeah, Ray the Video Guy. His skill is where it's at, even if he's a little fat. He's filled with video expertise and has so much knowledge that you need. His YouTube ninja tricks can make your marketing so sick. He's Ray the Video Guy, yeah, Ray the Video Guy.
And it's the radio show about video marketing madness with Ray the Video Guy. I'm Steve Sleeper, And GoVMM is our homepage. We need, our podcatcher listens have been kind of dropping off lately. So I don't know what we do about that, because you promote it whenever you send out an email.
You rotten humans. How dare you. Get out there and start watching these. Listening
Get over to Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. Arr.
You can tell we're worth it.
Arr. Do you have any rum?
Yo ho ho. No, get out there and do it. We need those reviews too. So head on over to iTunes Apple Podcasts and leave your reviews along with subscribing and checking out our great little podcast. We need to get back over 3 listens a week. If we can do that, that would be a very good thing. So be sure to do that. Mm-hmm. If we can get 4, maybe even 5, that would be fantastic. 5 people would be sweet.
Fab.
And you could be one of those 5 people. Head on over to Apple Podcasts or any of those other places where you get your fine podcasts, and you'll be able to grab this one. So with that said, this week, Steve, we're talking about smartphones. That's right. We're talking about smartphones once again. Now, we've talked about smartphones quite a bit. We did a not necessarily completely about smartphones, but we did a class on lighting or a show on lighting, and a lot of that centered around iPhones and smartphones and whatnot, but wasn't specifically for that. We've definitely talked about microphones that work on smartphones, but I want to talk about the smartphones in general and what you can get out of them and sort of the stigmas behind them and what you can do about that. Because one of the biggest problems with using a smartphone is people think, well, hey, smartphones, if I show up, if somebody's paying me to do a video and I show up with a smartphone, they're going to think I'm an idiot. Well, they might think you're an idiot anyway. But I can tell you right now, we have, and I've said this before, right over here is a closet right over here with some very nice cameras that we can bring out, DSLRs that do video, and they do a nice job. And yet I still use my smartphone here in the studio, because if I'm shooting with just myself, it makes it very easy. But we also take it to clients because there are actually some benefits to that. One, most of the clients now, if you were to, take on a client that, like the Ford Motor Company or Coca-Cola, I would think you'd probably want to do something a little higher end. But when you're heading over to, Joe's Crab Hut and, Dr. Pete's Chiropractic, believe it or not,
Steve Sleeper's Hot Dog Emporium.
That's right, yes, which, by the way, did exist. At least on Google it did. Long story there. But the big thing is, a lot of these smaller companies and everything, they actually will appreciate the fact that you're there with just a smartphone. They're more comfortable. They're more willing to open up. They're not as nervous about it, and they actually just seem to do a better job when they think it's just a smartphone. And unless you're doing a big production like a TV commercial, where you're going to have actors in there and everything else, showing up just to do a quick interview with somebody, showing up with your smartphone, they'll actually appreciate it, because guess what? Plumbers have a lot to do besides sit there and wait for you to set up cameras and lights and do interviews for 5 hours. They want you to come in, throw things down, interview them for what you need, and get out so they can go back to cleaning stopped up drains. And that's just the reality of it. So if you can come in there with a smartphone, there's actually advantages to that. And I love using my smartphone for that. The other thing is, most people, especially if you're getting started, you're not going to go out and buy a $10,000 camera. And so if you go to Best Buy and you buy a nice camera there, it's not going to have a lot of the features that professional cameras would have. However, believe it or not, and I'm assuming the same is for Android, I'm going to say iPhone because that's what I use. I can tell you right now, I have much, much, much more control over the look and feel of every video I shoot using my smartphone than I would with a, like a lower mid-range camera. A nice camera at Best Buy, definitely the smartphone's going to give you more. I use an app that is called Filmic Pro. And this app allows me to control everything from focus to the iris to the shutter speed and everything in between. It's got features like zebra striping and peaking and audio meters, all the types of things that the consumer cameras that you're going to buy, the camcorders, are probably not going to have. Audio inputs. A lot of the consumer cameras don't have any way for you to add a microphone. So your smartphone can do a better job. And when you think about the fact that, my smartphone does, 4K video? I mean, professional cameras 15 years ago, people were still using SD cameras and barely breaking into 1080 cameras or 720p cameras. So your smartphone is better than professional cameras 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I was using a camera that was the size of, a suitcase. And yeah, it took a great image, but it was not HD. It was still standard definition, even though it was a huge camera, and it took a really nice standard definition image, but it was still standard definition. I guarantee if we pulled that camera out today and we both shot the same thing in the same studio, that the smartphone would look better. Be richer colors, higher resolution. I'm sure the other camera can be up-resed into high definition, but you're still going to lose something on that. I still say your smartphone would do a better job. And of course, there are some caveats to that. You are talking about very small lenses. So when you're dealing with a smartphone, you have a very tiny lens. If you think about a professional camera, you're talking about a lens, the size of the diameter bigger than a Coke can. So very big lenses versus very tiny lenses, you're going to be able to get more light, so you can actually get a cleaner image in some ways. However, if you're in an environment where the lighting is well done and set up nicely, you can get just as good a quality of image. And I know because I shoot on it all the time. Now, the other part of that is, the other thing that makes the smartphones really good is you can do a lot of work right there. You would have a very tough time, for instance, if you wanted to shoot and edit something down and give it to somebody all in one sitting. It would be very, very difficult to do that if you had an older camera system. I used to have a friend who shot a lot of weddings, and he would have the ceremony done by the time the dinner was ready. And in order to do that, he had to have a laptop, he had to have a hard drive, he had to have somebody there to do the editing. He would shoot, and literally as he was shooting, there'd be somebody around to run back and forth. The person who would be doing the editing would be running back and forth, and they'd be timing in their head, okay, it's been 48 minutes, I better run over. Now, granted, most weddings are less than an hour long. Some of them are 10 minutes long. But if they know that it's going to be a longer one, maybe a Catholic one, the person that would be editing would be able to run over because they know that in 60 minutes they're going to have to change tapes. So they can run over in 50 minutes, wait for that to be done, grab that tape. Then they have to take that tape, and they've got to bring it into that computer, which, by the way, can take 60 minutes. Okay? Because it's real time. It was real-time capture back then. You didn't just have cards and plug them in and dump the stuff over. You had to take a tape, you had to put it into another camera or a deck, plug that into the computer, play the tape, and have the camera record it or transfer it over through FireWire. And if it was a 60-minute video, it took 60 minutes to bring it in. So you couldn't really do that very effectively. However, with your smartphone, you could literally go to some place, shoot an interview, and on your phone use an app, iMovie, you could use Adobe Rush, and there's a bunch of others on there too that escape my mind. Filmora has one, and you could edit your stuff, add graphics and everything else, and export it out right there and share it to somebody. So you could do an entire video right there on your phone. A good example of this is a few years back. I believe it was Bentley or Rolls-Royce. Bentley or Rolls-Royce. I think it was Bentley. They did a TV commercial which was shot on iPhone 5s, so this is going back a few years ago, where they shot it on iPhone 5s and they edited the video, the commercial, in the back of one of the cars on an iPad and had the commercial done, all within just a short period of time. They shot, they edited it, and it was done all at once. And you can do that if you have a smartphone with the right apps on there. And that's something it would be very difficult to do with the older cameras or even with a camera nowadays. Now, you could do it If you had your DSLR, you could shoot, you could pull out the card, you could pop the card in, you got to have a computer, you got to edit on the computer. So it can be done, but it's not going to be as smooth. With a smartphone, you can shoot it, take that video, trim it down right away, add your graphics in, and you're done with it. Is it going to be the most professional, amazing video ever? Maybe not, but you can do it. And of course, if you take that footage back, you can bring it into a regular editor anyway and do a really nice job editing that out. But you can do very professional videos with that. Now, another thing that's really cool about the smartphones is you've got all sorts of apps that you can get for these smartphones. I've got one app, and I don't know if I've mentioned it on this show or not before, but I've got one app that's called, I believe it's called Double Take. Let me make sure that that's right. It's by the same guys that do Filmic Pro, but I believe it's called Double Take. And let me make sure. Come on, if I could type, it would be a lot easier. Yes, it's called Double Take. And what that does...
It's not double mint. It's not double mint.
It's called Double Take. And what that does is it allows you to, with your iPhone, shoot from multiple cameras at the same time. So the way that I've used that is when my son got married just a couple of weeks ago, they got married at my house, and we just had a few people there, but I shot the video for it, and I shot the ceremony, and then I shot the traditional stuff just kind of done in our great room there, where they cut the cake and they did the dance and all that. And the way that I shot it was I actually used that Double Take program, and on the iPhone, you've got 4 cameras on the iPhone. You got the selfie camera, and then on the backside you've got your telephoto camera lens, you've got your super wide angle lens, and your normal wide angle lens. And so what I did was with Double Take, and when they were doing the dance, I did the telephoto and I did the wide, and Double Take was able to shoot both of those at the same time, and I could switch back and forth. Actually, I didn't switch back and forth. I just recorded both, and then in the editing process, I switched it back and forth. So when I was done,
pretty cool.
Yeah, when I was done with that, 3 minutes of shooting them dancing, I had 2 pieces of video, one of a nice close-up and one from afar with them dancing and the whole room. And it was all done with one smartphone. I don't know of any other cameras that do that. Now, one caveat to that, I used to have, I wonder, sometimes I think back and think, what the heck happened to some of these things that I had in the old days? I had this one camera that actually was given to me by a friend of mine that's a professional videographer, and it was an old camera he had. He's like, "Oh, why don't you take this?" And he had 2 of them. He gave me both of them, and they were Super VHS cameras, and they had 2 lenses in them. And what they did was you could shoot somebody on a green screen, so somebody would be standing in front of the green screen, and the camera would be shooting them, and the other camera could point at something else, a picture, a wall, a background, the outside, whatever, and it would green screen that person onto whatever the other camera was shooting at live and in real time. And so that's the only other camera I know that ever had multiple lenses, but they were for a different purpose. Another thing that I've done with the Double Take is I had to do an interview with one of my clients. We were just going to talk about like what they're doing during COVID and whatnot. And so what I did with Double Take was I put the camera on a tripod and I sat myself on one side and him on the other side. I had the selfie camera pointed towards me, the other camera pointed towards him. We did the interview where I would talk to him back and forth, and Double Take recorded my side and his side. So when I got back to the studio, I had 2 versions of the interview, one with a camera pointed at me, one with the camera pointed at him. I was able to put it into my program and then just cut back and forth. And so now we had an interview with 2 people, but with only one smartphone doing all the camera work. So it's very, very useful. Again, I don't know of any other professional systems that do that. So there are major advantages besides the fact that it fits in your pocket. Okay.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Oh, when I first saw the demo of that, I nearly lost my mind. I thought that was so amazing.
Nearly crapped your pants.
It was pretty impressive. But the only thing I will say is, and if the people at Filmic Pro ever watch this, pay attention to what I'm saying here. The original demo kind of showed it where the actual Filmic Pro app had Double Take built in. In reality, it ended up being 2 different apps. So it would be nice if in Filmic I had the option to do the Double Take stuff. because Filmic gives you a lot of other professional tools inside the shooting app. So it'd be nice to have that in there with that.
So you gotta have those two apps open then.
No, just one. Just one.
Okay.
So when you're shooting it with the double take, you just open that app and just shoot that way. And it's got some of the features of Filmic Pro in double take,
Okay.
but
Okay.
Filmic Pro has 800,000 other things in there that just make it a really amazing app for shooting video. But yeah, the double take, I mean, just amazing. And what I used with the double take, by the way, when I did that interview, is I've got a microphone that I got from Movo back, gosh, a couple of years ago. I'm probably like 5 or 6 years ago. And what it is a lavalier microphone that has two microphones on it. So you plug it into your phone, and it's got two wires coming out with two lavalier microphones. So I put one on me, one on him, and so now we both have a microphone going in as well as the camera shooting both sides. So it was a double there, and it worked really, really well. In fact, I was impressed at how well it worked.
Wow.
So
very
indeed.
Cool.
Yeah. And so of course,
That's exciting.
with the smartphones, I do want to talk about some of the, the downsides of the smartphones, because there certainly are some downsides to it. For one, again, you've got that really tiny lens, so you got to have decent lighting. Although these things, I don't know how they do it. They do an amazing job now with even in low lighting areas. They do an amazing job with the video that they'll take. But it'll still obviously do a lot better if you've got really good lighting. And so that's one of the downsides. The other downside, obviously, is the microphone situation. If you're using the built-in mic, it's going to be terrible. That being said, most professional video cameras are going to be terrible if you don't use a microphone as well. But the smartphones are going to be a lot worse. The very tiny microphone at a distance. At least with a professional camera, they may have like a little mini shotgun that's attached to it, so you can kind of get people. But even that's not going to be great. So what you need to do is you need to be able to get a microphone to go with that. So you need lighting, you need a microphone. And the other thing is stabilization. A phone is a very light piece of equipment. It's very difficult to get a nice stable shot if you're hand holding it. So getting a tripod and putting it onto a mount is going to be a big deal. Now, in the case of the smartphones, they actually do have tripod mounts and tripods at Best Buy. So you could buy a Best Buy tripod. You can get a mount to put on the tripod to put your phone in there. They're not the best. The tripods some of their tripods can be okay, unless you're going to be really rough with them. If you're going to be taking them around, throwing them in your car, bringing them places, some of those at Best Buy and whatnot are going to be too cheap. They're going to break. They're going to fall apart. So you may want something better. But for the most part, those tripods there will do perfectly fine for you. I've got like 3 or 4 of them here in the studio, and I use them for different things to put. I've got one right here. My webcam is on a kind of cheap Best Buy $30. Well, that one's a little nicer. So that one's probably one of the $40 tripods at Best Buy. And I put a webcam on that. So I've got my webcam here, and I've got a second webcam that I can cut between. And it never moves, so there's no need. I don't need a fancy tripod. It's never moving. It just sits there. I don't do pan shots. I don't do tilts or anything like that. So it's perfectly fine. I put the Mevo camera on one of those cheapy tripods when I use it, and it works perfectly fine. So, and my 360 camera, I've got a 360 camera. I'll put that on one of those as well. And so
the Mevo camera, is that little like hockey puck that you can
the Facebook
live stream
one
through your phone?
Yep.
Okay,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so those will go on one of those cheap tripods. Now, the other part is the mount, because obviously a smartphone is not going to mount onto a tripod without something to hold it on there. And Best Buy does sell the cheapy mount, a couple of different ones. Actually, they sell some that are okay, but a lot of them are the cheapy ones. I recommend by far the PR1 from Movo. I've got. I did a live video yesterday. I was saying I was going through some stuff. I've got like 5 or 6 of them here in the office. I've got one in my bag. I've got one on my tripod there. I've got one in one of the video kits that I've got over there that came with microphones and everything. It's got one. There's one in the microphone over here in the box there. There's another one in there. It's never been used. So I've got like 5 or 6 of them just kind of floating around, even though I probably use maybe 2. One that stays here and one that I bring with me. But Just because a lot of their kits and things come with that as part of it. But it's a very, a very, very good tripod mount because it's very sturdy. It's got, you can hand hold it. It's got a grip, so you can mount your phone and use the grip on the bottom to hold it handheld. I don't recommend doing handheld for much anyway, but that'll be better than trying to hold the phone normally. But it mounts onto the tripod. It's got a level, so if you've got a tripod and you want to make sure everything's level, it's got a level on the actual piece. It's got a place to hold your wires, and it's got a shoe on the top to mount lights and microphones to it, so they just slide right in and you lock them on. It's got 2 other mounts on there so that you can put other things like microphones and lights and things like that, and brackets and whatnot. So it's just a very, very good mount, and it expands to fit the biggest of the big phones. So that was one of the issues with some of the other mounts, is as these iPhone 11s and these Samsung 20s or the Notes were so big that it was tough to get into some of those tripod mounts. But this one here, it'll fit that, and in fact, it fits my smartphone. I've got the iPhone 11 Max Pro Max, which is between that and the S20, I think, are the 2 biggest phones, width-wise. And I've got a pretty big, thick, heavy case around my iPhone, and I can still put it in the PR1, even with the case on it. So it's very, very good for that. And as far as microphones go, there's a ton of different microphones that you could get. Movo makes a bunch of them. PowerDewise makes one that we were actually given a couple of PowerDewise microphones. They're lavaliers that work with smartphones, and a very nice little microphone. A little more expensive than the Movo microphone. So I would kind of give the Movo the edge a little bit, just because it's got a longer cord, and it's a lot cheaper. It's almost half the price. Mm-hmm. So and that's the LV1, the Movo LV1. In fact, if anyone wants to check that out, you can go to pocketvideopro.com/LV1, and you'll be able to check out the lavalier microphone there. It's the one that I use. I have been using the PowerDewise one lately too, just because I have it. But I use both, and they're quality-wise, they're both about the same. The PowerDewise is louder, almost too loud. So I have to bring my my gain way down when I'm using it, because it is a little bit louder. Now that's not a bad thing. It's just a difference. One is a little bit louder than the other, but they both sound great and they both work great, and I like both of them. And any lavalier microphone, or any microphone really that you attach to your phone, is going to give you better audio. The other one that we have, in fact, we did a live video about it yesterday, is the VXR10. And that is a little mini shotgun microphone that mounts to the top of your camera or your smartphone using the PR1. So you take the PR1, you mount that little shotgun microphone to the top of that, and that's going to give you a much better sound without having to mic somebody up every time. And that's great for, if you're out on the street. Let's say you were out in the streets and you had to interview a bunch of people, like, hey, John, hey, would you answer a couple questions? Which, by the way, I've done. So people say, when are you ever going to do that? I've actually done that. I've actually had gigs where I had to go out on the street and ask people political questions and poll questions and all that kind of stuff. And hey, and you don't want to have to sit there and set your camera down and mic somebody up. And, if you have something like the VXR10, you've got it mounted onto the top of there. You just point the camera at them. The microphone's going to point at them, and you're going to get a really nice sound, even at, a few feet away. So that's another way to do it. And, of course, then you got wireless microphone systems. I've got 3 wireless microphone systems from Movo. All 3 are very, very good. So they actually make some nice ones, and they're in the process of sending me a new one that they're coming out with that should be here any time now. They said they were sending it the other day. I don't know if they've actually sent it yet, but should be here in the next couple of days, and I look forward to testing that, because that will also work with your smartphones and make a big difference to your audio. Because again, audio, just one of those things that the small form factor of a smartphone is just not going to, it's just not going to pick up the way that you want to. So you need to have an external microphone. And you could always record separately too. I know a lot of people will use a recorder and, attach a microphone to a recorder and just record their audio separately and put it together later. I'd rather have it all together. It just makes life a little easier. But you can do either one of those, and either one will work fine because your smartphone is very versatile. Not only that, but there's also hardware you can use with your smartphone. You can attach lenses to your smartphone to give you better fidelity in the images. You can attach other cameras to your smartphone. For instance, we talked about the Mevo. I talked about my I've got the Samsung Gear 360. Those are two cameras that connect with your phone and shoot separately. And so you don't even have to use your phone to actually shoot. You use your phone as the monitor, and you shoot with one of those and send it to your phone. And so you've got the versatility of that as well. So it's it gives everybody the opportunity to shoot great video in a way that they may not have been able to do in the past. And as far as I know, and I haven't talked to anybody that does this. I haven't talked to anybody in the news in a while, but what I have heard is that a lot of reporters nowadays actually are going out and shooting with their smartphones. Now, I'm not talking about this COVID stuff. Nowadays, with the whole COVID thing, people are shooting, you get news reporters who are shooting from home on their smartphones, which I always think is great. And I think that's the greatest thing that could happen to smartphones and pocket video production is this whole situation where during COVID, people have had to do this. Conan O'Brien is shooting his TV show using his smartphone. A network TV show, well, cable TV show, being shot completely on smartphones. The news is being shot on smartphones. But I hear that even before all this, reporters were using smartphones, I think mostly iPhones, to run out and, they could shoot their own stuff. They didn't need to bring a whole camera crew anymore. They could actually set up and shoot their own interviews and things very quickly and easily because they were using smartphones for that. And if you think about this, this is only going to get better and better. The iPhones have 3 cameras on the back there, and they actually got pretty good sized lenses. Some of the biggest lenses I've seen in standard in a smartphone on that particular one. And big enough you can actually see the lenses in there. Most of the smartphones, those lenses are so small and everything, you can't really see the parts in this. But the iPhone, you can actually see the parts in there. And I believe the new Samsung S20, I think that one has 3 cameras. I think the Samsung S20 had 4. So and I did hear news that the next iPhone may also have 4 cameras on it as well. So it's getting a little ridiculous. But even with the iPhone when it had the 3, and I'm like, it seems like a lot, but it's really, really convenient to have those 3 cameras on there, those 3 lenses. It really does allow you to do a lot more. When I'm out, for instance, I've been doing a lot of shots when I'm out doing kayaking, and I'll take a wide, a medium, and a telephoto shot of all the different things around the river or the lake that we're on. And, you can get some really neat stuff by doing that. So, again, how many other, granted a nice professional video camera is going to have a big lens that you can do, telephoto and wide angle shots and just by zooming in and out. But it is kind of neat that you can actually switch the lenses on the fly and, just go, boom, I want the widescreen, and suddenly you get the super wide angle, and then boom, I want telephoto, and it's zoomed in just at the touch of a button. So it's very cool. Other things too, with the smartphones, you got a lot of apps for monitoring your video. For instance, like we talked about the Mevo, you think about the app for that. When you're using the Mevo, you could set the Mevo up and shoot 2 people, maybe doing an interview style, sitting next to each other. And inside the Mevo software, you could zoom in on one person and cut to them as if it's a different camera, even though it's just the same camera. So you could cut from one person to the other to the wide shot, and it's just the same camera. It's just one big high-resolution image that you're able to zoom in on. And that just gives you some really, really cool stuff. And so I love that. I think that's very, very helpful. So Tim says we're doing product placement. Well, if we're doing product placement, we're doing a terrible job because we haven't given any links to buy anything with it. We're just talking about products that we like, unfortunately. Right. But I remember, if we were smart, we would do that.
Yeah, exactly. I remember over 10 years ago, whenever the flip cameras first came into play and the smartphones
the flip phones,
what they are now. Yeah, the flip cameras. The innovative newspapers, I know the one in Trenton, New Jersey is the one that kind of started this. They gave all their reporters flip phones, and they were expected to go out and shoot videos for the stories. And
Yeah, I'm sure those were wonderful videos.
Well, I think they were coached on what not to do. Don't try to overshoot it, but just
Yeah.
Use it in a way that it's supposed to be used. And so there are some newspapers that have videos along with the story, that show what's going on. Some of them you can tell are being used by, what's the app I used to have? Content Samurai,
Yep.
where they're just they're just plugging it in, and Content Samurai does the editing. But a lot of newspapers are doing those.
Oh, sure.
TV stations, yeah, that makes a lot of sense if the newspapers are doing it. And now, wasn't there a survey a number of years ago that a lot of people judge the quality of a video, realizing it's all digital and HD now? A lot of people judge the quality of the video by the sound quality.
Yeah, that's well. It's not so it's not so much that they like if you polled people, they probably wouldn't say it necessarily all the time. But well, no, actually they would, and that's yeah. Basically, what it came down to was people were more willing to watch a bad video with good sound versus a good video if it had bad sound. If it had bad sound, people were more likely to turn away. And when it had good sound, even if the picture quality was staticky or out of focus or anything like that, they didn't care so much about that. So yeah, the sound is, even though we do a lot less with the sound. So in other words, if you shoot a video and you edit the video, you're probably going to do a ton of things to the video. You're going to add graphics, you're going to edit it, you're going to change the colors. You're probably not going to do a lot with the sound, but you need to shoot good quality sound at the beginning, because that really is a factor that will either turn people away or keep people watching. So yeah, it's a big part of it. Now, if you walked up to people and said, what's what do you hate about videos? They'd probably say, I don't like when they, when they're black and white, or I don't like when they're out of focus. But in reality, what was found was that it was the sound that really turned people off the most.
Okay.
So there you go.
And then I remember you talking about a product a number of years ago that you could make your iPhone into a switch or a TV studio. What you could do is use all your old smartphones as cameras and switch between them.
Yeah. Well, actually, the program that we use to do this show, the Mevo Live, you can use smartphones as remote cameres. There's a reporter app that you can download, and you can. So if I wanted somebody out on the street, if we were to get a correspondent, we could use them with their smartphone and the remote app, and actually bring them in as a reporter.
I see.
And it's actually by the guys who make Memo Live. It's called, I think it's just called Reporter, or Memo Reporter, or something like that.
But the Double Take app, being able to use all the cameras on the iPhone, I mean, that's brilliant.
Yep. Plus, your smartphones can also be used, in NDI style. So NDI is kind of similar to the reporter thing. So NDI turns your phones into wireless cameras that can be used for other purposes. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Very
Bottom line is, folks, if you are thinking that I can't shoot videos until I get a really nice camera, or, you just don't want to do it because you don't have a really nice camera, don't be fooled by that. Get out there and shoot. The worst video is the one that was never shot. Okay? For the most part, unless Hillary Clinton's in it. Sorry. That's a joke. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, you got to get out there. You got to use what you have. And, even if your smartphone was only half as good as a professional camera 10 years ago, instead of better than, why would you not use it? Get out there and use it. There's no reason not to. There have been movies shot on iPhones. There have been TV commercials shot on iPhones. There have been TV shows shot on iPhones, and probably Android phones as well, I would assume. Use it. Get out there. Take action. Start shooting content. Even the selfie camera. This is the other thing that surprises people a lot is, I tell them that I use my smartphone to shoot most of my videos, but what I don't tell them most of the time is mostly I use my selfie side of the camera of the smartphone because it's the side that I can see. And so I'm doing professional stuff. I've done videos, we've sold millions of dollars in products using videos that were shot with the selfie side of my smartphone. So what's stopping you
and they
when
look
you've...
good?
Yeah, and they work with
look
green
good.
screen, and
I mean, you don't look so good,
yeah,
but the videos
I don't look
look
great,
good.
but the videos look okay, and you can do green screen and everything else with them. So, and that's with the selfie side, even. Now I do have a kind of neat setup in here, actually, where I've got an Apple TV in here, and a TV over there. So when I'm by myself, I can use the good side with the good cameras on the back side of the camera and connect the smartphone to the Apple TV and see what I'm shooting and use the nice side. But half the time I don't do that just because, I have to take twice as long. I have to go and turn on the TV and connect it all and, and I can just shoot the video with the selfie side and it looks fine. I shot 2 videos already today, selfie side, done.
Well,
Why not?
yeah, you're selling an affiliate product, cranking them out quick, getting them out there. They look decent. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Yeah,
absolutely. So there you go.
Yeah, very cool. Now I saw something on the crawler. If you're watching the Facebook Live, there is a crawler at the bottom there that with some headlines, mostly YouTube headlines. YouTube has storefront videos, and then it just said ... Do you know anything about that?
Not a ton yet. That's something that we're looking into.
Okay.
They haven't made a big deal out of it yet, so it's one of those new things. They've got a couple of things coming out. They've got the storefront videos. They've got a TikTok competitor that they're coming out with. So they got a few things, in the bag here. On the other side of things, though, YouTube. Here's something interesting with that, and I'm wondering where this is going. Just in our crawler here today, I've seen 2 different shows on YouTube that are moving to other networks.
Yeah, Joe, what's his name?
John Krasinski's Good News is moving
Good
to
News is.
is moving to Netflix. No, to a CBS All Access, and Cobra Kai. The only reason I bought the YouTube. What do they call it now? I can't remember what they call it now. YouTube's they used to call it YouTube Red. I think it's YouTube Premium now. The only reason I bought the YouTube Premium was because they had Cobra Kai on there, and that's going to Netflix. So,
and then there's another big one that went to Netflix as well. The bald guy, his first name is Joe, and I'm having a senior moment. But
Joe Bald Guy.
You know who he is. Joe Bald Guy. Joe Arpaio. Not Joe Exotic. Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Oh.
Yeah, he's moving off YouTube too.
Oh, I did see
moving
that.
like
I
to
saw that a couple of
CBS.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which is too bad because I kind of like. Sometimes I'll throw that on in the background, just the YouTube channel, and just let it play. So that was kind of sad to hear that.
Yeah,
I did
same
read that
here.
a couple
Yeah,
weeks
so
ago,
I was pretty disappointed. He's going to have like snippets on YouTube, but he's moving the Joe Rogan Experience, at least the video part of it, and I think it's over to CBS. I think.
Yeah, it was to somewhere.
Don't quote me on
It was
it.
to somewhere. I did see that. That was on our I think that was on our
Spotify.
crawler a couple weeks ago. Spotify, yeah. That's
Or
right,
Spotify.
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it's
I think it was
Spotify.
Spotify.
Yeah.
Which is, but that's, that's, well, you see, that's his podcast. He's moving his podcast directly to Spotify. And I think that they're making him turn off the YouTube channel, I think is what it was. So he had to get rid of the YouTube channel because of that. So.
Is that it? Okay.
I believe so.
All right. Okay. Well,
Either
I'm
way,
all
there's
caught up.
changes coming down the pike. And just like there's been changes in cameras and using smartphones. So.
That's right.
Get out there and start shooting. Got to do it. Got to do it. And with that, I think we'll call this one to a close. That way you can get out there and start using that smartphone. And while you're out there shooting those videos for professional purposes, well, you need a way to charge the customers that you're shooting these videos for. You need a way to invoice them. You need a way to send them proposals. And you need a way to collect that money. And you can do all of that with our good friends over at FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the easy way to send invoices, to send proposals, to send expenses, and to get approval on all of that, as well as to get paid. You can even get paid on a recurring basis, which is probably the big reason I switched to that, because it makes life a lot easier when if you've got a monthly client paying you $500 a month. It's a lot easier to have it automatically collect that each month than it is to send a bill every single month, or even to have an automated bill go out, because then you have to hope they pay. With this, you can get that credit card on file and boom, they're going to be charged each and every month automatically, and you'll get it right inside of your account with full accounting so that your CPA will be happy with you. And it does a great job. I love it. It's what I've used for the last 2 months now. And I find it to be a much better experience than some of the other things I've used before. So if you want to try this out, and I highly recommend you do, head on over to raiselinks.com/freshbooks, and you'll be able to try it out completely free for 30 days. All you have to do is sign up and get started playing with it. You won't even have to put in a credit card, and they will never take a dime from you unless you decide to continue after that. But I highly recommend you at least try it out at raiselinks.com/FreshBooks. And with that, another episode in the can, heading over to the Podcast Hall of Fame. And once again,
Very cool.
another great episode. We'll see you guys next time, next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Steve, have a wonderful week. Everybody out there, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you then.
He's
Have a good
Ray
weekend.
the video guy, yeah, Ray the video guy. His skill is where it's at, even if he's a little fat. He's filled with video expertise and has so much knowledge that you need. His YouTube ninja tricks can make your marketing so sick. He's Ray the video guy, yeah, Ray the video guy.